Those seeking to benefit on that Court of Appeal ruling on citizenship rushing to the Parliamentary Registration Department. An opposition senator expressing concerns over proposed investments for Grand Bahama Shipyard, and Progressive Liberal Party leader responds to the AG's comments on the state of emergency. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your JCN News for this Wednesday, June 23rd. Thanks for staying with us. Individuals seeking to benefit from a recent Court of Appeal ruling entitling children of unwed Bahamian men and foreign women to Bahamian citizenship are presenting themselves at the Parliamentary Registration Department and possibly in other areas like the Passport Office to reap the benefits of full Bahamian status. Leader of Government Business in the Senate, Attorney General Senator Carl Bethel, reveals as much this morning in the upper chamber. In response, he says this.
It would only be in the event of an adverse ruling from the Privy Council that any changes to Bahamian law would be necessary. At this point, there is and has been no change to Bahamian law. So, for example, one cannot prove paternity for the purpose of claiming citizenship based on the Status of Children's Act, because the Status of Children's Act specifically states that it is not to be used in determining any question of citizenship.
He insists that the public wait on the ruling from the highest court in the land, that's the Privy Council, for the final statement as to what Bahamian constitutional law is on this matter.
If the Privy Council were to rule in favor of the applicants, being the government of the Bahamas, there would be no change to the law. If they were to rule otherwise, at that point, there would have to be changes in domestic law. Those changes have not yet been made, and so please, I advise all government agencies to obey the Bahamian law in this matter.
Senator Bethel says the Attorney General's office is taking steps for this to be done in a measured and lawful way on the basis of urgency. Opposition Senator Dr. Michael Darville's not at all impressed with the government's progress regarding investments over on the Grand Bahama during his tenure in office. While delivering his contribution to the budget debate in the Senate on Wednesday, he lists a number of blunders from the minister-led administration. JCN's Leah Cooper has more.
Senator Dr. Michael Darville expressing concerns surrounding Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Line's joint $350 million investment in the Grand Bahama Shipyard, one of the biggest investments in Grand Bahama's history, according to Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. Dr. Darville says the Progressive Liberal Party welcomes the good news for that island, but he takes it with a grain of salt until he sees the documents laid in Parliament.
We all can remember the hype and the PR from the Ministry for Grand Bahama regarding the first tech investor brought into the country. But later, closed down all his operation, leaving the jurisdiction with a bitter taste in his mouth, and claiming that the government did not live up to their part of the agreement and misled him and his associates. Lots of broken promises for investors, lots of monies lost. Apparently this legal blow practically buried the idea, because I'm still waiting for the minister to speak about this glamorous tech hub. Nothing. Dead on arrival.
He adds that very little has been accomplished in Grand Bahama since 2017. He adds that the people of East Grand Bahama have been receiving the short end of the stick for many years when it comes to government allocations.
After borrowing billions of dollars, what does Grand Bahama have to show for it? Grand Bahama continues to be plagued with very high unemployment, which, as the last report was pegged at about 40%, brought on by multiple shocks. That we agree. But I submit to this Parliament that the legacy of this administration as it relates to Grand Bahama can be summed up with the three following blunders. The purchase purchase of Grand Lucayan Hotel for some $60 million. And after investing $140 million of taxpayers' money, some $80 million of taxpayers' money was squandered at a time when people needed that money most. The controversial purchase of the Grand Bahama International Airport and from Hutchison & Poor group of companies who collected the insurance money, walked away from their obligations under the Hawksbill Creek Agreement and dumped it on this administration. And finally, the laughable multi-billion-dollar Oban deal, referred to as a rookie mistake by Minister Pinter.
He says the sad thing about what he's calling these three legacy blunders is the fact that the Bahamian taxpayer is left holding the proverbial bag in Grand Bahama during one of the worst 4 years the country has ever seen.
The only thing this administration has done right for the people of Grand Bahama is they have not repealed and replaced the Grand Bahama Investment Incentive Bill left behind by the PLP. After 4 years, this government say that they're negotiating. They're still negotiating with the heads of agreement we left behind. That heads of agreement took land back from the Grand Bahama Port Authority and we put it back in the hands of the people.
He adds that the opposition's reviewing the Grand Bahama Port Authority's revitalization and expansion plan for the economy of Freeport in the months ahead. He says they intend to reach out to discuss that report and finalize how it will be implemented in the PLP's 2022 platform. Dr. Darville says the residents of Grand Bahama can rest assured that the PLP has a workable plan for the entire island that it intends to release before the next general election. Reporting for Jcn News, I'm Leah Cooper.
Well, during his contribution to the 2021-2022 fiscal year plan, Minister of State for Finance, Senator Kwesi Thompson, who led off debate in the upper chamber on Tuesday afternoon, says the Accelerate Bahamas from Restoration to Growth is one that offers hope and a future for the country. The 2021-2022 fiscal plan, which was passed in the lower chamber on Monday night, Senator Thompson says the government, as leaders, must always seek to inspire hope, adding that he is optimistic about the country's future.
Yes, the Bahamas has endured two back-to-back catastrophes, the magnitude of which have not been experienced in recent history. First, the natural disaster. Second, a global public health crisis. But many, as a result of these two crises, many have suffered loss. It's the reality of the situation. Many have suffered financial loss. Many have suffered job loss. Some have even suffered family loss. But Madam President, I am absolutely convinced that all is not lost.
Senator Thompson acknowledging that the country has, within the last 18 months, weathered the most pressing challenges of the last century, and says we are now turning the corner, moving from recovery to expansion, from restoration to growth.
Now I am under no illusions. The answers are not simple, nor are they easy. And I understand where we are. Unprecedented challenges in our economy, high unemployment, an unsustainable deficit. But Madam President, this government, we on this side, we are ready to fight for the future of our people.
While also acknowledging that one could not have anticipated the range of the pandemic's impact on the lives of Bahamians or the economy, Senator Thompson says the government did not panic nor waver, but instead stepped in with an aggressive and forward-looking plan. Through the end of May this year, the government has provided $284 million in support for households through the National Insurance Board's unemployment benefit and its unemployment assistance program.
After September 2019 to May of 2021, these programs assisted more than 86,000 1,000 people who were employed in tourism, in wholesale, in retail, and in professional services sector. So, Madam President, when I hear people say that the F&M didn't do anything, it is absolute and complete nonsense. When I hear people talk about the F&M didn't care or doesn't care for people, well, Madam President, we made sure that $284 million went directly into the hands of the people. The support for our recovery did not stop there. The Ministry of Social Services also provided support through its rental assistance, its food assistance, and clothing assistance programs.
The government, according to Senator Thompson, also funded the Small Business Development Center, SBDC, so that it could provide business continuity, loans, grants, and equity financing of up to $45 million to over 1,000 businesses. Debate continues in the upper chamber. The Public Hospitals Authority requesting that the public respect the privacy of the late staff nurse Jcn Thompson and her family during this difficult time. According to a press release sent out by the PHA, they have been made aware of a post circulating social media of video images of co-workers of Nurse Thompson paying tribute in a nurse salute to their fallen colleague. PHA considers the circulation of this post and the capture of its video content a violation of Nurse Thompson and her family's privacy and a violation of PHA's policy regarding photography and video recording in public hospital facilities. Nurse Thompson passed away at the Princess Margaret Hospital on June 21st. The Board of Directors, senior executives, and the entire PHA family joined PMH in offering heartfelt condolences to the relatives, friends, and colleagues of staff nurse Jcn Thompson. We here at JCN also offer our condolences to the family. 28 additional cases of COVID-19 out of 382 tests taken on Tuesday, June 22nd, being confirmed by health officials. 23 cases on New Providence, 1 case with a history of travel within 14 days, 1 on Grand Bahama, and 2 each on Bimini and Cat Key and Eleuthera. Active cases are now at 685, 39 of which are in hospital. 36 are moderately ill in hospital, and 3 are in the intensive care unit, 2 at Doctors Hospital and 1 at the Princess Margaret Hospital. 37 recoveries were reported that day, pushing total recoveries to 11,393. The death toll remains at 244, with 29 deaths under investigation. To date, 104,800 tests have been completed. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.